Who wants to sit around the table? I don't think we did on my practice stuff, but thank you for coming. I'm Dr. Huntington. I'm one of the Protect Dr. Parks people. And the reason I'm introducing today is because I'm the one that could answer most questions on the bird quiz from our experience city group. So I got to do the introduction. So anyways, welcome. If you've not been to Century Village before, it's a really great place. And the best view in Geauga County is just off that way. So when you leave the building, be sure to look over the hill that way. And English Smith's been doing the bird count since 2000, so take advantage of that as well. Welcome PGP supporters, Protect Dr. Parks supporters, and of course any new faces that are here today. We want to thank Century Village and the Historical Society for allowing us to use this building at a rate that meets our budget. The budget is very small, so we do appreciate that. And we want to thank volunteers who set up and volunteers down. And I certainly want to thank Kim Kaufman for coming today. I know that you're in for a real good treat when she begins to talk. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her in a moment. But I do want to recognize that Blackswamp Observatory was the organization that allowed Protect Dr. Parks to use their computer service until we had one when we were setting up a little over a year ago. So we really appreciated that. We were able to post articles on the Blackswamp Observatory website to start getting the word out of what we were doing here in Geauga County. So it was greatly appreciated. So I'm going to give a little commercial about what is Protect Geauga Parks. We are sponsoring the event today. We're a group of concerned citizens. We organized as a nonprofit corporation a little bit over a year ago in response to damage that was being done to the integrity of the Geauga Park District by those who are responsible for oversight and management of the parks. Our focus is on education and advocacy for conservation in the Geauga Parks. And we do that by identifying the forces that have negatively been affecting the parks for the last couple of years. You may be aware that in Ohio, the county park boards are under the jurisdiction of a probate judge. Most people don't know that, but that is an important fact for everybody to remember. In Geauga County, we have one probate judge who is also the juvenile court judge. He came to us, he was given to us following the tragic death of Judge Chip Henry, who was a steward of the parks. The probate judge then appoints the park board and is supposed to then sit back and let the park board do its work. That's not been the case here in Geauga County, and there's been a lot of difficulty. Prior to the appointment of Judge Vendel, the park district, which covers almost 9,000 acres, was in nurturing hands with excellent stewardship by the judge and by the park board. This was evidenced by increase in parkland, a number of new parks have been added, a lot of conservation easements, and a lot of partnerships with other organizations, including Western Reserve Land Conservancy. We have in Geauga County the headwaters of 3 rivers, so that's the Cuyahoga, the Chagrin, and the Grand River, and we're on the map of important birding areas for the watersheds of all those areas. Geauga County, I follow the Ohio bird list, and Geauga County is frequently on it, most recently with all the shorebird habitat at Ladue. Ladue is not part of the Geauga Park District, but obviously is a really important area in Geauga County. Our organization, Protect Geauga Parks, is here in order to encourage and demand that the park go back to preserve, conserving, and protecting the parkland, and not letting it defunded by taking away the levy, as happened last year, or by privatizing the parks. We also have been watching to be sure that there's transparency, and we really have become a watchdog agency. We also, though, put on conservation conversations like this in order to tell people both in Geauga County and in any place who will listen the importance of conservation and why we do need to increase the parkland, why it's never that you can say 9,000 acres is enough. It's really important to be able to purchase additional property as it becomes available and allow for habitat for not just birds, but animals, insects, etc. This is our 6th conservation conversation. We've talked about butterflies, we've talked about the importance of conservation, we have Jim Bissell talking about plants, and we hope to continue these next year as well. Some of the areas that have been threatened by development by the current judge and his regime have resulted in a soccer field going in where there was owl habitat at Roaring Meadow. There's other new developments at Roaring Meadow that have been happening recently. A baseball field has gone in where there was monarch butterfly tagging at Pine Creek, etc. So you can see the trajectory of those kind of things continue. We have made some accomplishments. We have a big Facebook page. We have an email list, and we're encouraging you to sign up for either of those. We also we get a lot of media attention in the local papers. We have made some impact in having some of the recreational amenities removed from some of the parks where the covenant of those parks did not allow those things to take place. So we've been making some impact, but it's a long haul for us. And what we're seeing in Geauga County is happening all over the country, so it's not just a Geauga County issue. And we hope that other counties can learn from what we're trying to do as well and support our efforts. So what we need to continue to do is to watchdog the spending to make sure it's appropriate, and to be able to continue to educate our citizens and our taxpayers about the importance of conservation. So now, my shameless plug, we do need your help. This can be in the form of writing letters, either to state officials, to people who work in the parks, to letters to the editor, to the judge himself, to the Ohio Supreme Court. Those of you who live in Geauga County, we encourage you to attend with us the park board meetings. We have a petition on the table where we are asking for the judge to be removed by Ohio's General Assembly. If you would like to sign the petitions, we're happy to have your signature, and that's also online as well, if you prefer to do that. We have a boutique over there with beautiful t-shirts. We have yard signs, we have greeting cards, pins, coffee cups, anything you would want with a Protect Geauga Parks logo on it. So we certainly encourage you to do that. And most important, we encourage you to become supporting members. What supporting members do is give us some data on how many people are committed to the cause. Supporting memberships are anywhere from $10 on up. And it also then puts you on the mailing list as well, so we can keep you informed of what's going on. If you join as a supporting member, you get a lovely pin or patch. We hope to continue conservation conversations in this upcoming year by educating ourselves about what conservation means, whether it's about protecting plants, the climate, animals, birds, insects, and also just to become smarter advocates for our parkland, both locally, at the state, and at the nation. So we do need your help to make that happen. After Kim talks today, Kathy Henry, who is the president of Protect Geauga Parks, will give a little closing talk to you. But in the meantime, I'm going to welcome Kim Kaufman. So Kim has gotten here from a long drive, so we've given her a few minutes to freshen up. And she is an Ohio native. Her lifelong love of the outdoors grew into a passion for birds in the 1990s. She monitored nesting bald eagles for the Ohio Division of Wildlife, and she ran bluebird trails before she began banding migrant songbirds for the Blackswamp Observatory. If you've not been to the Blackswamp Observatory and that whole Maumee Bay State Park and out west area, the Ottawa area, do so. It's obviously the place to go in spring and fall. Geauga County is great, but it's also really good over there. Although if you do spring and fall burning in Geauga County, it's not as crowded, but we still encourage you to go out to Blackswamp. Kim's involvement with Blackswamp Bird Observatory escalated when she became the education director in 2005, and she's now the executive director. She plays a key role in having started the highly successful Ohio Young Birders Group, which is a group for teenagers that served as a model for youth programs in 13 states, as well as sponsoring the biggest week of American birding, a spring event that rapidly has become one of the largest birding festivals in the United States. Oh, and probably even bigger than that. She's a contributing editor to Birds in Bloom magazine. She's a co-author of 2 books, The Kaufman Field Guide to Nature of New England and Kaufman Field Guide to Nature of the Midwest. Her husband, Ken, is a world-renowned author and bird expert. He has written more than a dozen books on birds and nature, and he's a regular contributor to every national birding magazine. They make their home in Oak Harbor, Ohio. So you've listened to me long enough, so I'd like you all to help welcome Kim Kaufman.
I want to thank Barb and Kathy and Sandy for giving me the honor of addressing this group. I want to thank you for coming out on a really spectacular day to sit inside and see my presentation. I promise to try and do a really good job and make you feel like it's worth it when you leave here today. I want to share a little bit that I pretty much live every waking moment of my life thinking, talking, or working on bird conservation issues. And this might sound a little egotistical, but you'll understand why I'm going to share this with you, that a lot of people say, Kim, we're so inspired by your work and by the work of Blackswamp Bird Observatory, and we do work so hard. We're very dedicated to bird conservation. But even the people that are at the lead of an issue or concern need inspiration. And I cannot begin to tell you how much inspiration Ken, myself, and the entire staff of Blackswamp Bird Observatory have drawn from the incredible grassroots effort of this Protect Geauga Park Streets. The way you guys have pulled together and organized is so impressive, and trust me, people far, far beyond Geauga County are aware of your efforts and the things that you're trying to accomplish here, and we support you. I got my mug, I'm going with a t-shirt, and I want you to know that BSBO, we're a small nonprofit too, and we usually ask for a $100 honorarium and our mileage covered to give presentations. But we talked about the staff and I, and we're going to donate the $100 speaker's fee back to this group because we care about it. I know it's good that you have the support of the canines today. Right? So I'm going to talk a little bit today about birds and people and how it's such a particularly powerful connection. And of course, you can't like birds and be outside and ignore all the other wonders of the natural world. It's one of the things I love the most about birding is how it introduces you to all these other things in the natural world. But for the purpose of today, I want to focus on birds and how they just seem to capture our imagination in a way that no other aspect of natural history really does. So, they just get your heart, don't they? So let's start out by talking about the active way that we pursue birds, this whole hobby of birding. And I think one of the things that appeals to us is that birding means different things to many different people. And I think that's why it's so popular across such a broad scope for people. For some, it's a hobby, just a casual thing that they do on weekends. For others, it's driven by the spirit of competition. People will keep yardless, countyless, stateless, and they're in competition with their friends or their friends. And so they're driven by that spirit of competition, which I think is great. For many of us, it's a very social activity. And I think the social aspect of birding applies to any way that you pursue birds. It's fun to share that activity with your friends and family. For some, it's a way to seek peace and relaxation from the craziness of our day. It's a little bit tough for me because the craziness of my day also involves birds. But I still do go out and look at birds to find that sense of peace and relaxation. And I'm not going to say which of these categories, perhaps all, that I fall into, but for many, it's more of an obsession. But I like to think that it's a healthy sort of obsession, and maybe we should not use obsession. Maybe we should call it more of a lifestyle, that you live the birding lifestyle. And there's so many things about birding that appeal to us. I think the first thing is that it's easy. Anybody can do it. Birds are everywhere. And there's no wrong way to look at birds. In fact, if you're out birding and someone tells you you're doing it wrong, go birding with someone else. However you want to pursue birds, that's the right way to do it. You don't have to be an expert. I live with one of the world's renowned birding experts, but I don't have to be an expert just to enjoy birds. And I can glean a lot of knowledge directly from the source. People always talk about, what, do you really use Ken's field guide? And I said, no, I just use Ken. And I think one of the best things is that birders are just such wonderful people. They love to share. I've seen such excitement passed down along that boardwalk in the marsh where there's just sort of this ripple. It's like the old telephone game that you played in school where you pass the word down. And usually it starts out as a golden warbler. Most of the time it ends up as a golden warbler on the boardwalk. But birders enjoy birds for the comfort of your dining room table or your lazy boy if you want to. But birding is easy. But birding is also challenging, and I think this is where many of us love it. Even if we like the easy parts sometimes, I think the challenging aspects of birding are something that appeal to most people. And it's challenging in a really positive way. I don't know about some of you, but each spring when the migrating workers come through, I have to relearn a lot of their songs. And this is actually a really great activity for your brain. In fact, the Alzheimer's Association has been promoting birding on some levels as a great way to stave off Alzheimer's because it keeps your brain so active. Isn't that wonderful to know that they're recommending birding? And just learning how to identify all these different birds. And of course now, if you're out looking for fall warblers, we're really powering our brain. Burning brain cells trying to separate all those confusing fall warblers. And just the act of finding birds, understanding where to go to find a particular bird you want, if the black-throated blue warbler is the bird that you most want to see, learning where to go look for those birds and what habitat can be a challenge. And finally, it can often require some pretty serious physical effort. So birding really serves our health and well-being across a number of levels. I have a fun example I want to share of the physical exertion that's sometimes required to find birds. I don't know how well you can see this, but this is the godforsaken side of a mountain out in the middle of Honduras. And I'm standing quite a ways above this group. This is a very steep incline. And what we're traversing on a group is not a path. To call it a path or a trail would be far too generous. This was a cow path. In fact, cows passed us on the trip. It was a muddy gulch of ruts worn through the earth. It was muddy, it was wet, there were big boulders we had to climb over. And so for more than 2 hours, we pushed and tugged and pulled each other, 16 people, up this mountainside. There was a gentleman in this group that was 88 years old, and he made it all the way to the top. We were going through all of this to the top of this mountain with the hope, no guarantee, of seeing one bird, just one bird. But I think you'll all agree that that one bird, when it showed up, was totally worth it. Because at the top of that mountain was the resplendent quetzal. And the bird showed up, and for more than an hour, we spent time with this glorious bird. It put on a wonderful show, people got to spend time with it, they took photos of it, and there was great celebration across the entire group for having persevered and made it to the top of the mountain. But you could kind of see this ripple move through the crowd as people started to realize, we have to go back down. And the trip down, believe it or not, took almost twice as long as the journey up, because if you guys have ever hiked, you know going down can be a real challenge. But we made it, we left no on the mountain. And this bird remains one of my favorite birds that I've ever seen anywhere in the world. And this might seem sort of funny, but I think part of what I love about birding is that it's predictable. The world is changing so fast, but there are things about birds in the bird world that we can rely on. And when you bird an area long enough, you start to understand the rhythm of the seasons and what birds will come back when. And there is some comfort in knowing that. In the spring in the marshes, we know that the red-winged blackbirds are the vanguards of spring. And when they come back, and we know we can count on them coming back, it's this wonderful feeling that everything's okay. Our birds are coming back. So it's a wonderful, that predictability is really comforting. But I also think that the unpredictable nature of birds, the very idea that when you go out, you never know what you might find, what hidden treasure is out there. And here are a couple of my favorite examples. This little rock wren that showed up in Holmes County in 2014, and the Amish are such keen birders. They spend so much more time outside actively looking for birds that they find incredible rarities throughout the heart of the Amish almost every year. And this little rock wren put on quite a show for so many people. And typically, the people that are hosting this bird are wonderful hosts to birders as well. So there's a great sense of camaraderie when you go out to pursue one of these little rarities. And these black-bellied whistling ducks, these lovely little tropical ducks. Now these ducks are very showy, as you can see. And they have the savvy to show up during the biggest week in American birding. And they really put on a show. Thousands of birders got to see these lovely little tropical ducks. And I'm sure if you're tuned into the birding world in Ohio at all, then you have to know about our latest rock star, this amazing juvenile swainson's hawk. And this is really an unprecedented rarity for this species. There are records on Ohio, particularly flyers. This is a young bird, and it's just completely unaware of the people. In fact, I think it's starting to really to like the fact that it's center stage. There are amazing photos across social media of this bird going and hawking grasshoppers out of midair. So just the fact that you can go out and you never know what treasure you might turn up just on a typical day of birding. I think the unpredictable nature of birding is a wonderful thing. So of all the amazing aspects of the natural world, what is it about birds that captivate us so? And I think, in general, birds seem so much more intensely alive than anything else in the natural world. There's this spark in birds that really captivates our imagination. And of course, you can't answer this question with just one simple answer. There are a number of things, I think, that make birds so appealing to us. And I thought I would share some of the highlights that I feel like, at least for me, make birds so special. First is that birds are amazing architects. They build these incredible, intricate nests. And people are so fascinated with bird nests and the different structures that it can sometimes lead to do some rather bizarre things. So last year, a friend of mine sent me this picture on Facebook and said, "Oh my gosh, this would be so perfect for you and Ken. I know there's space in your living room. I just thought, considering that you're bird people, you'd really like this." I beautifully showed it to Ken. What do you think, Ken? I was thinking about getting this, putting it on living room. Now you have to understand, Ken is just the most wonderful man in the universe, and he typically does not say no to any idea, no matter how. He usually just says, "Oh no." He looked at this, and I could see he was trying to come up with a very nice way to say, "What?" I'm just kidding. It does come to a wow weird. Some of my family already think we're kind of weird bird people. If I had this in my living room, that would be This was an extreme example. Have you guys heard of this? The edible nest swiftling, and that's actually the bird's name. This is a small bird of the swift family that's found in Southeast Asia, and its nest is made, it's put together with solidified saliva. It's bird spit. And apparently this has become a real delicacy. And they'll go out and scrape the nest off once it's dry, boil it, and serve this in soup. And again, many people consider this a real delicacy. Now, I've never tried it. I have no interest in trying it. But if you do, consider trying. I'm very concerned because, quite frankly, collecting the nest was starting to have an impact. They weren't really doing it at the greatest time of year for the birds, so there was an impact to the population. It became a conservation concern. Now there's a great attempt to collect the nest in a more sustainable way once the birds are done. So you should feel very good about the next time you want to eat bird spit soup, that at least they're going to collect it in a sustainable way. And here's what's interesting about our fascination with bird nests, is that they're not the only great architects in the natural world. I mean, consider this. Ken and I have this wonderful 3 acres that we explore almost every day that we can. And we have this lovely stand of hemp. It's hemp dogbane. You guys familiar with this plant? It's a wonderful plant. There's a moth that's the host plant for. And I was just inspecting the leaf, and I found these 2 little structures. And I called Ken over and I said, "Ken, look at these. They look like little clay pots." And he said, "How appropriate. Those are pile wasp nests." And eventually, one of them cracked open, and you could see the larvae growing inside. But they're tiny. These would sit on the top of a dime. How fascinating that this wasp is able to create such a lovely little structure. And of course, praying mantis, they have this amazing little organ in their abdomen that allows them to whip up this foam, this liquid foam that they surround their eggs in, and it dries and hardens, and it's like insulation. It even protects the eggs through cold weather, even Ohio's winters. It's an amazingly beautiful structure. And even if you're kind of creeped out by praying mantis, and some people are, I think you have to admit, I like to call them mantis, and I don't know if that's appropriate, but these little mantises are the cutest little things that they have. Unless you're 5 years old, but you don't keep the lid. And about 5,000 of these hatch out into the writer's kitchen. I'm not going to name names, but that may have happened to me in my life. And I did not think that they were so cute. But
Neither do teachers.
I'm sorry?
Neither do teachers.
Neither do teachers, he said. I can understand. Ball-faced horned nest. I don't know about you guys, but this seems to be a very popular thing to hang out in pubs and bars. Did you guys ever notice that? I don't know if that has something to do with alcohol being involved. But I've noticed that a lot of pubs seem to have ball-faced horned nests hanging up from the ceiling. But these are just marvelous examples of architecture in the natural world. And probably most of you have seen the ball-faced horned nest. What about this lunchbox? Have you guys ever seen one of these? These are the most incredible things. That's the egg case. And they weave this protective little nest, and it dries and hardens. And it's actually quite tough for as delicate and fragile as it was. But I just think that's an amazing structure. And Ken and I had the great fortune to take a trip to South Africa last November. And it's kind of hard to believe that I was actually not photographing the giraffe here. I was photographing this amazing termite mound. And the termite mounds are like these incredible skyscrapers. That's an adult giraffe. And this termite mound is much taller than the full stretched out mound of the giraffe. So termites are pretty good architects too. But there's something about bird nests that captivates in such a way. And I can remember when I was probably 8 years old visiting my grandparents, and they had this wonderful farm. And in the front yard was this big old maple tree with some low-hanging limbs. And up in the first crotch was this nest, and I could see the bottom of it. And I knew I probably shouldn't, but I just couldn't resist crawling up there and peering over into this nest and finding these 3 eggs. I felt like I made this amazing discovery. These eggs that were reflecting the blue of the sky. It just felt like such a powerful moment. And I think we really are fascinated with bird nests in a special way. And no matter how old I get, I'm still quite young. Looking for those Baltimore oriole nests when the leaves start to come off in autumn. And almost every year you discover that they're either right above the sidewalk where you walk in every day, or right above the area where you park your cars. It's hard to imagine that such a flamboyant bird can do such a great job of camouflaging itself with this structure, this amazing, intricate structure that they weave with the feet and the bill. What an amazing thing that is. And I'm going to take a sidebar to talk a little bit about a bird conservation issue. And as savvy as you guys are, you probably know, but I'll share in case some don't. Baltimore orioles, I've seen nests constructed completely out of Easter grass. Someone put Easter basket materials out with their trash, and these orioles didn't miss that opportunity. And there was a Baltimore oriole nest completely woven out of colorful Easter grass, which was quite beautiful. But on the downside of that, Baltimore orioles and orchard orioles will frequently use monofilament line. So improperly discarded fishing line poses a real threat to these birds. It makes for a very strong nest, but it can also get wrapped around the legs and the necks of the nestlings. So if you're an angler, please dispose of your fishing line properly. And even if you're not, if you're walking the beach and you see some discarded fishing line, please pick it up and dispose of it properly. The Department of Natural Resources is starting to put these little, they're made out of PVC pipe to encourage people to dispose of these things. But keep that in mind the next time you're walking the beach if you see that line. It can be a real threat to Baltimore orioles. But for me, I'm sure for many of you, the ultimate nest is the nest of the hummingbirds. And certainly our ruby-throated hummingbirds build a fabulous nest. And we have so much fun talking to kids at Blackswamp Bird Observatory that come out for our programs about how ruby-throated hummingbirds build their nests. And it just doesn't, it sounds implausible. It sounds more like science fiction, in fact, that this little bird can hover in one place and glean little strips of spider web and stick those spider webs in a little pad on the limb and add plant down to that. It's like this little magical thing that's happening in our backyard every summer. And then cover that nest once it's all done with a little piece